I stared at the grainy photo on my mahogany desk, my skin crawling as if 100 insects were under my surface. Across from me, Chloe, my star intern, leaned back in the leather chair I had bought with my first big bonus. She wasn't trembling. She wasn't crying. She was smiling a sharp, jagged smile that made my stomach turn. "I think the board would find this very interesting, wouldn't they, Allison?" she whispered. Her voice was like honey poured over a blade. The photo showed me in a dimly lit hotel lobby, leaning intimately into a man who definitely wasn't my husband. To anyone else, it looked like a scandalous affair. To me, it looked like a death warrant for my career. "Where did you get this?" I managed to ask. My voice sounded thin, even to my own ears. I felt a surge of hot, prickly anger. I had spent 6 months teaching this girl everything I knew. I had shared my lunch with her, defended her mistakes to the partners, and treated her like the younger sister I never had. And here she was, holding my life over a flame. "It doesn't matter where I got it," Chloe said, her eyes cold and calculating. "What matters is that the senior VP announcement is tomorrow. If you don't withdraw your name and recommend me for the junior associate opening instead, this goes to Mr. Sterling's inbox by 5 p.m. I'm tired of waiting for my turn, Allison. I want your office, and I want it now." Before we continue, I would like to know where you're watching from in the comments section. Also hit the subscribe button and share this video, as this will help this video to travel far so others can learn also. My name is Allison. For 10 years, I have been the fixer at Sterling and Associates. I am the woman who stays until 2 a.m. to ensure a merger goes through. I am the one who remembers every client's birthday and every legal loophole. I work twice as hard as the men in this office to earn my seat at the table. I am 34 years old, and I've built a life I'm proud of. My husband, Mark, is a high school teacher who has supported every late night and every missed dinner. We have a modest home and a dream of starting a family once this promotion is secured. Everything I have worked for was finally within reach. Then came Chloe. She was 22, blonde, and possessed a level of entitlement that I'd never seen before. She was a legacy hire, the daughter of one of Sterling's old college friends. I took her under my wing because I thought she had potential. I didn't realize she was a parasite. She didn't want to learn the work, she wanted to own the results. Looking at her now, I realized I had been blind. I had mistaken her aggression for ambition. I had mistaken her coldness for focus. My heart hammered against my ribs, but I forced my hands to stay flat on the desk. I couldn't let her see me shake. "You have 48 hours, Allison," Chloe said, standing up. She smoothed her skirt with a practiced, elegant motion. "Don't bother trying to delete it from the server. I have copies. Many copies." She turned and walked out, leaving the scent of her expensive perfume lingering like a bad omen. I picked up the photo. My eyes narrowed. I looked at the timestamp in the corner. Then I looked at the man's watch in the reflection of the hotel's glass door. My heart, which had been racing with fear, suddenly slowed to a steady, cold beat. I remembered that night perfectly. It was 3 weeks ago. I hadn't told anyone where I was going, not even Mark. But looking at the photo now, I realized Chloe had made a massive mistake. She was so blinded by her desire to ruin me that she hadn't actually looked at what was in the frame. The man in the photo was Thomas. He wasn't a lover. He was a private investigator I had hired months ago. I hadn't been having an affair, I had been conducting a secret investigation into the firm's internal accounts. And the reason I was leaning in so closely? He was handing me a flash drive containing evidence of a massive embezzlement scheme, one that led directly to Chloe's father. The next morning, I walked into the office with my head down. I made sure my eyes looked a little red, as if I had been crying. When I saw Chloe at the coffee station, I flinched. I wanted her to feel powerful. I wanted her to feel like she had already won. "Allison," she chirped, her voice loud enough for the other associates to hear. "You look tired." Maybe you should take a personal day? I can handle the Miller account for you. I bit my lip, playing the part of the broken mentor. I'm not sure, Chloe. Can we talk in my office? We walked back, and I closed the door with a trembling hand. Please, I whispered. If Mark sees that photo, it will destroy my marriage. Please don't do this. Chloe leaned against my door, a look of pure triumph on her face. Then you know what you have to do. Write the email to Sterling. Tell him you're stepping down for health reasons and then I'm the only one who can step into your shoes. Oh, and I want your private client list. All of it. She was greedy. I needed her to be greedy. It made her predictable. By noon, the shift in the office was palpable. Chloe wasn't an intern anymore, she was acting like a queen. She ordered the junior staff to bring her files. She corrected my memos in the shared drive, intentionally adding errors that she could then fix to look smarter in front of the partners. I watched her from my glass walls. I saw her whispering to Mr. Sterling in the hallway, laughing at his jokes, her hand resting briefly on his arm. She was building her nest. Every time our eyes met, she gave me a wink. She thought she was watching a lion die. She didn't realize she was watching a trap being set. I spent the afternoon cleaning out my desk. I made a show of putting personal photos into a box. Internally, I was a machine. I was documenting every move she made. I noticed she was spending a lot of time on my computer whenever I stepped away for bathroom cries. She was looking for the client list. I had left a very special version of it waiting for her. Mr. Sterling called me into his office at 3 p.m. He was a tall, imposing man who valued loyalty above all else. Allison, he said, looking concerned. I've heard some rumors that you're feeling overwhelmed. Chloe mentioned you might be looking for a change of pace? My heart spiked. She was moving faster than I expected. I've been under a lot of stress, sir, I said, keeping my voice low. I didn't deny it. I needed him to believe the narrative Chloe was spinning. I just want what's best for the firm. Sterling sighed. You've been my right hand for a decade. If you need a break, you have it. But the board meeting is tomorrow. We need to finalize the SVP role. If you're out, we have a gap to fill. Chloe is young, but she seems eager. She is very eager, sir, I replied. I felt a pang of guilt for lying to him, but I knew the truth would be much louder than any lie I could tell right now. Just give me until tomorrow morning to make my final decision. I owe the firm that much. He nodded, and I left his office, feeling Chloe's eyes burning into my back. That night, I didn't go home. I waited until the cleaning crew left, then I went down to the archives in the basement. I had the keys Thomas had given me. I wasn't looking for photos. I was looking for the discrepancies Thomas had flagged in the internship fund. Chloe's father had been funneling money through the firm for years, but he had recently started using Chloe's name on the digital signatures to hide his tracks. Or perhaps, Chloe was the one doing the funneling and using her father's influence as a shield. Either way, the paper trail was a mess of forged signatures and misplaced invoices. I found a stack of expense reports. Chloe had claimed $30,000 in travel expenses over the last 4 months. She hadn't traveled once. She had used the money to buy the designer bags and shoes she flaunted in the office. She was stealing from the very hand she was trying to bite. I scanned every document. I felt a cold sense of justice. She thought she was a genius because she had a photo of me talking to a man. I was a genius because I had the receipts for her crimes. I tucked the copies into my bag and walked out into the cool night air. The next day, I invited Chloe to lunch at the most expensive bistro in the city. She arrived late, looking radiant. She ordered a bottle of champagne as if we were celebrating. So, she said, clinking her glass against my water, is the email sent? I'm working on it, I said, playing the defeated card. But Chloe, tell me, how did you get so smart? How did you manage to find out about Thomas? I used his name on purpose. I wanted to see if she knew who he was. She laughed, a high, shrill sound. I saw his name on a napkin you left in the trash. I followed you that night. It was so easy. You think you're so careful, Allison, but you're just old. You don't understand how the world works now. Information is the only currency that matters. And what will you do with the currency? I asked quietly. She leaned in, her eyes gleaming. I'm going to be the youngest VP in this company's history. And you're going to be the woman who stayed home to save her marriage. It's a fair trade, don't you think? I smiled then, a real, genuine smile. It's certainly a trade, I agreed. When we returned to the office, the atmosphere was tense. The board members were starting to arrive for the evening session. I went to my desk and noticed my special projects file was gone. This was the file that contained the fake client list I had created, full of dead accounts and trap phone numbers. I looked over at Chloe's cubicle. She was hunched over her screen, typing furiously. She had the file. She was already trying to steal my clients before the promotion was even official. I felt a surge of adrenaline. Everything was falling into place. I walked over to her. Chloe, have you seen my blue folder? I asked, my voice trembling for effect. She didn't even look up. No, Allison. Maybe you left it at the bistro? You seemed pretty distracted. The arrogance in her voice was staggering. She didn't even try to hide the theft. I turned away, hiding my smirk. That file contained a digital tracker. Every time she opened a document within it, it sent a ping to my personal phone. She was currently accessing client confidentiality agreements. She was breaking federal privacy laws in real time. I sat at my desk and watched the pings roll in. At 4 p.m., I gathered my small team in the break room. These were the people I had worked with for years. The researchers, the paralegals, the people Chloe treated like furniture. I bought them all coffee. I just wanted to say, thank you, I said, my voice thick with feigned emotion. Whatever happens today, you've been the best team I could ask for. They looked at me with confusion and pity. They had seen Chloe's behavior. They knew something was wrong. One of the researchers, a quiet guy named Mark, not my husband, pulled me aside. Allison, we know she's a nightmare. Don't let her push you out. I'm doing what I have to do, I told him, giving his hand a squeeze. I saw Chloe watching us from the doorway, a smirk on her face. She thought I was giving a final goodbye. In reality, I was making sure my team was out of the line of fire. I needed them to be witnesses. I needed them to remember my grace and her cruelty. In the world of corporate politics, optics are everything. I was the martyr. She was the executioner. And the audience was starting to turn on the girl with the axe. At 4:45 p.m., my phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number. It was a digital copy of the photo, but this time it was cropped to show only my face and Thomas's hand on my arm. The caption read, 10 minutes. I'm hitting send. I looked up. Chloe was standing in the hallway, holding her phone like a weapon. She mouthed the word goodbye. I felt a momentary flash of real fear. What if Sterling didn't listen? What if the scandal was too much? I took a deep breath and reminded myself of the facts. I stood up and walked toward Mr. Sterling's office. Chloe saw me and followed, her pace quickening. She wanted to be there when the bomb went off. She wanted to see the look on my face when my career ended. We reached the door at the same time. Mr. Sterling? I called out. I am ready to make my statement. He looked up from his desk, his brow furrowed. Come in, both of you. Chloe, you too? Fine. Let's get this over with. We stepped inside, and I heard the click of the door, closing behind us. The trap was about to spring. Sir, Chloe interrupted before I could speak. Before Allison says anything, I think you need to see this. I tried to protect her, but my conscience won't let me stay silent. The firm's reputation is at stake. She handed her phone to Sterling. Sterling looked at the photo. His face went pale then red. He looked at me, his eyes full of disappointment. Allison, is this true? Is this why you've been so distracted? Who is this man? I took a slow, deliberate breath. I didn't look at the phone. I looked directly at Sterling. That man is Thomas Vance, sir. He is a licensed private investigator and a former forensic auditor for the SEC. I hired him 3 months ago. Chloe scoffed. A private investigator? In a hotel lobby at 11 p.m.? Nice try, Allison. We all know what that looks like. She was digging her own grave now. She couldn't help herself. She had to keep pushing, even when the ground was shifting beneath her feet. Why would you hire a forensic auditor, Allison? Sterling asked, his voice low and dangerous. He ignored Chloe's outburst. He was a smart man. He knew I wouldn't hire a pro like Thomas for a whim. Because I noticed a pattern of missing funds in the internship budget, sir, I said, my voice now calm and steady. I didn't want to bring it to you until I had proof. I didn't want to ruin anyone's life without being 100% sure. I glanced at Chloe. Her smirk was starting to flicker. I have the proof now, I continued. But, strangely, Chloe also seemed very interested in my work. In fact, she's been trying to access my private files for days. She even threatened to leak that photo if I didn't give her my client list and withdraw from the SVP position. That's a lie, Chloe shouted. She's making it up to cover her tracks. Sir, look at the photo. Look at how she's leaning into him. She was starting to sweat. The air in the room felt heavy, charged with the scent of a coming storm. Sir, I said, reaching into my bag, I don't just have a story. I have a recording. I pulled out a small digital recorder. Chloe's eyes went wide. She lunged for it, but Sterling barked, "Sit down, Chloe." I pressed play. Chloe's voice filled the room. I think the board would find this very interesting. If you don't withdraw your name and recommend me, I want your office and I want it now. The recording was crystal clear. The blackmail was undeniable. Chloe slumped back in her chair, her face turning a sickly shade of gray. I was just joking, she stammered. It was a test. I wanted to see if she was loyal to the firm. A test? Sterling whispered. He looked like he wanted to throw her through the window. You blackmailed a senior associate? You threatened the integrity of this office because you were tired of waiting? He turned back to me. And the funds, Allison? What about the money? I laid out the documents I had found in the archives. I showed Sterling the forged signatures. I showed him the $30,000 in travel expenses that had been deposited into an account linked to Chloe's personal phone. She didn't just want my job, sir, I said. She wanted to cover her tracks. She knew I was getting close to the truth. She thought if she could get me out of the way and take over my accounts, she could bury the evidence forever. Sterling looked at the papers, his hands shaking with rage. The board members were waiting in the next room, and he was realizing that he had almost promoted a criminal. You used my friendship with your father, he said to Chloe, his voice trembling. You used this firm like a personal piggy bank. Chloe didn't answer. She was staring at the floor, her fingers twitching. She was a cornered animal, and for the first time, she realized that she wasn't the hunter. She was the prey. And I was the one holding the leash. Wait, Chloe suddenly said, her voice turning sharp again. Even if I did that, the photo is still real. You were meeting a man in secret. You were hiding things from the firm. That's a breach of contract, Allison. You're just as guilty. I looked at her with genuine pity. Chloe, look at the timestamp again. Look at the reflection in the glass behind us. Do you see that man in the suit standing by the elevators? That's Mr. Sterling's head of security. He was there to witness the handoff. Sterling nodded slowly. I knew Allison was looking into something. I didn't know the details, but I authorized the security detail for her protection. I didn't tell you, Chloe, because you weren't cleared for that level of information. The final brick in her wall crumbled. She had nothing left. No leverage, no lies, and no friends. She was just a girl who had tried to play a game she didn't understand. She had brought a plastic knife to a gunfight, and she had finally run out of luck. "Get out," Sterling said. It wasn't a shout. It was a cold, hard command. Chloe blinked, as if she didn't understand. "Sir," she whispered. "Get out of my office. Get out of this building. I am calling the police, and I am calling your father. If I ever see your face near this firm again, I will make it my life's mission to see you behind bars." Sterling stood up, looming over her. "But, my things." Chloe gestured toward her desk. She was trying to maintain some shred of dignity, but it was gone. She looked small, messy, and pathetic. "You have 5 minutes," I said, stepping forward. "I've already had security pack your personal items into a box. It's waiting for you at the reception desk. Anything else left behind will be turned over as evidence to the fraud investigators." I held the door open for her. As Chloe walked out of Sterling's office, the entire floor went silent. Word had traveled fast. The Golden Girl was being escorted out. She tried to keep her chin up, but she tripped on the carpet, her expensive heels clicking awkwardly. She reached her desk, but it was already empty. Her box was sitting on the floor by the elevators. She had to kneel down in her designer skirt to pick it up. I watched from the doorway, my arms folded. I didn't feel joy. I felt a profound sense of relief. A few people started to whisper. I saw the junior associates she had bullied smirk as she struggled with the heavy box. She had built no bridges, and now she was drowning in the moat. She looked at me one last time, her eyes full of a hatred so pure it was almost beautiful. I just nodded. As the elevator doors closed on Chloe, Sterling turned to me. "Allison, I can't apologize enough. I should have seen it. I should have trusted your instincts over my old friendship." "It's okay, sir," I said. "But there's one more thing you should know. The audit didn't just stop at Chloe. I think we need to look at the regional accounts. There are traces of similar patterns in the Boston office." Sterling's eyes widened. "Boston? That's where my partner is based." He realized the rabbit hole went much deeper than one intern. The revenge I had taken wasn't just on Chloe, it was a systemic cleansing of the rot she had been a part of. "I have the files ready," I said. "Whenever you're ready to start the real work." I wasn't just a fixer anymore. I was the architect of the firm's future. I had saved the company millions, and I had done it while she was busy taking selfies in the break room. That evening, as I was finishing my report, a notification popped up on the company's internal social feed. It was a video. I clicked it, and my heart stopped for a second. It was Chloe. She had recorded a video on her way out, crying, claiming I had framed her because I was jealous of her youth. "She's a monster." Chloe sobbed into the camera. "She's been stealing for years and pinning it on me. Don't let her get away with it." She was trying to go viral. She was trying to use the victim narrative to save herself. For a moment, I saw the comments starting to pour in. "Poor girl," one said. "Corporate Karen strikes again," said another. She was playing her final card, public sympathy. I didn't panic. I called Thomas. "Is it ready?" I asked. "Ready and waiting," he replied. "I'll drop the full security footage and the audio logs to the press in 5 minutes. Let's see how her victim story holds up against the literal sound of her blackmailing you." Within an hour, the internet had flipped. The poor intern story was replaced by the Blackmail Queen headline. Thomas had released the full, unedited audio of our meeting, along with the footage of her entering my office at night to steal files. The comments section became a graveyard for Chloe's reputation. The audacity, people wrote. She literally recorded her own crime. The evidence was so overwhelming that her viral attempt backfired spectacularly. She wasn't a victim, she was a villain. I saw a post from her father, publicly disowning her actions and resigning from the board. He was trying to save himself, but the damage was done. The house of cards had fallen, and Chloe was at the bottom of the pile. She tried to delete her accounts, but it was too late. Screenshots live forever. She had wanted to be famous, now she was infamous. She was a cautionary tale for every entitled intern in the city. And I was just the woman who had held the mirror up to her face. The next morning, the police arrived at Chloe's apartment. I wasn't there to see it, but Thomas sent me the photos. She was being led out in handcuffs, wearing the same designer sweater she had bragged about a week ago. She looked broken. The fire in her eyes was gone, replaced by a dull, hollow stare. She had lost her job, her father's support, her reputation, and her freedom. All because she thought she was smarter than the woman who had built the room she was standing in. Sterling called me into the boardroom. All the partners were there. They stood up when I entered. "Allison," Sterling said, his voice thick with emotion. "We have made our decision." It was unanimous. He handed me a folder. It wasn't a pink slip. It was a contract for the senior vice president position, with a salary increase that made my head spin. "You didn't just save our money," he said. "You saved our soul. Welcome to the top, Allison." A month later, I was sitting in my new corner office. The view was incredible, the whole city spread out beneath me like a map. I had a new intern, a quiet, hardworking girl named Maya who actually wanted to learn. I received a letter in the mail. It was from Chloe, sent from the county jail where she was awaiting trial. I didn't open it. I didn't need to hear her apologies or her threats. I simply walked over to the shredder and watched the paper turn into dust. I thought about that night in the hotel lobby. I thought about the fear I had felt when she first showed me the photo. It felt like a lifetime ago. I had grown, not out of spite, but out of a realization of my own strength. I wasn't a fixer anymore. I was a leader. I looked at a photo on my desk, one of me and Mark, truly laughing, on a beach last weekend. That was the only leaked photo that mattered now. A photo of a woman who knew her worth and wasn't afraid to fight for it. The firm flourished under my leadership. We implemented new transparency protocols and a mentorship program that actually focused on character, not just credentials. I became a voice for ethics in an industry that often forgets them. I saw a news clip about Chloe's sentencing. She got 3 years for fraud and attempted extortion. The judge cited her utter lack of remorse as a factor. I felt a small pang of sadness for the person she could have been, but it was quickly replaced by a sense of peace. I had walked away from the fire without a single burn. I had played the long game, and I had won. Not by being cruel, but by being prepared. By being smarter. By being Allison. My team grew, my marriage grew stronger, and for the first time in my life, I wasn't looking over my shoulder. I was looking ahead. The sky was clear, and the path was mine to walk. People often ask me how I stayed so calm during that week. They want to know the secret to my revenge. I always tell them the same thing: it wasn't about revenge. It was about the truth. If you spend your life building something real, a lie can't knock it down. Chloe tried to build a life out of smoke and mirrors, and she was surprised when it vanished in a breeze. I built mine out of stone. I sit in my office every morning and remember the girl who tried to blackmail me. I don't hate her. I thank her. She taught me that I am more powerful than I ever imagined. She taught me that your worth isn't in a photo or a title. It's in the work you do when no one is watching. I close my laptop and head home to Mark. The sun is setting over the city, and the lights are starting to flicker on. I am Allison, the Senior Vice President of Sterling and Associates. And I am exactly where I am supposed to be.